Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mack Story.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for stopping by the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. Today, we're on part 3 of my 30-part series on my book, Blue Collar Leadership and Culture, the 5 components for building high-performance teams. And today, I'm talking to you about Chapter 3. And let me just recap. I'm not going to recap every episode throughout the whole series, but the first 5 chapters I will recap because I want you to see what we're building as we go through this series. If you don't have the book, again, I encourage you to get the book. At a minimum, go to bluecollarleadership.com/download and look for the Blue Collar Leadership and Culture book, and you actually can read the first 5 chapters, all 15 pages. Remember, this book's formatted 30 chapters, 3 pages per chapter. So you can go there and download the first 5 chapters and get all the detail around what I'm talking about, because I don't mention every single thing that are in these chapters when I'm doing this series. I'm talking a few points from the book and then a lot of freestyle on my thoughts in general. So part 3 today, chapter 3, is the impact of culture. Remember, chapter 1 was the cost of culture. And I touched on the 3 dilemmas: engagement, retention, and turnover. Chapter 2 was the foundation of culture, where I say the organizational culture will be determined by the top leader's values. And then today, we're talking about the impact of culture. And what I say there is, the subtitle of this chapter is, those who work there will determine who wants to work there. That's the impact of culture. Pretty simple. The people who work there determines who wants to work there. Also determines who doesn't want to work there. So I want to share a quote with you as we get going here on chapter 3, the impact of culture, from Jim Blanchard. It's a lengthy quote. I'll let you know when I'm done here. But Jim says this: I think the most important and difficult thing is to create a culture in the organization where leadership is really important. It's important for people in the company to realize that this is a growth-oriented company. And the biggest thing we have to grow here is you, because it's you who will make this company better by your own growth. All those words were from Jim Blanchard. Pretty powerful quote. Say it again right quick this time. I think the most important and difficult thing is to create a culture in the organization where leadership is really important. It's important for people in the company to realize that this is a growth-oriented company. And the biggest thing we have to grow here is you, because it's you who will make this company better by your own growth. You ever heard your leader say anything like that to you? I hope you have, but I also know it's a good chance you haven't. If you're a top leader, have you ever cast that vision to your team? I mean the whole team, top to bottom. Go back and listen to that quote. That's what this book is about. That's how you build a high-impact team. You become a high-impact leader. That quote is the kind of language high-impact leaders use. High-impact managers, you won't ever hear that come out of their mouth. Not going to happen. Not worried about that. They may be growth-oriented. They want to grow the sales dollars, or they want to grow the size of the company, but they ain't necessarily worried about growing people. That's what high-impact leaders do. So let's touch back on that subtitle of this chapter. Those who work in the organization determine who wants to work in the organization. This book is full of common sense, thought-provoking principles and stories to help a top leader understand, why should I go do this? This is common sense. Right here is common sense. This one, the subtitle of chapter 3, those who work in the organization determine who wants to work in the organization. That's common sense. Anybody would say, well, yeah, that's true. But only a high impact leader understands, I can influence how the people in this organization feel. I can influence what they're telling other people about this organization when they're not in this organization. You understand, and I'm talking to the top leader who can actually make this happen. You understand, people talk to people outside of work. You may go to work and see all these people working together and talking. They absolutely talk to each other. But they also talk to everybody outside of work that they interact with. And whenever they talk to them, the culture inside the organization is generating influence outside the organization, positive or negative. Happens both ways. So listen to the voices. Listen to the voices of leaders who are losing the labor war. You know, when I wrote this book, it was before the coronavirus crisis hit. Unemployment was super low. But it doesn't matter if unemployment is 20%. There's still a labor war, and the labor war is for top talent. It doesn't matter what the unemployment rate is. There's always going to be a war for the top talent. Who's going to win? Who's going to, first of all, attract those people, and who's going to retain those people? Now, low impact leaders, they ain't necessarily looking for top talent. They look for somebody to push a button, or to push a broom, or to dig a hole, or to clip some wires, or to turn some screws. But those people are not going to have exceptional organizations. So listen to the voices. Listen to the voices of leaders who are losing the labor war, the battle for top talent. We just can't find any good people. I hear that all across the nation. Rhea and I speak. Last year we were in 40 states. This year we were in 12 or 13 states, and also Canada before March 30th, before the virus kind of shut down the nation. But we hear stories like this all over the United States. We just can't find any good people. We hear that all the time from leaders who don't even understand what they're saying when they say it. We just can't find any good people. As if there aren't any good or great people out there. They actually say, we just can't find any good people, like there are not any. They don't even understand what they're saying is, we can't attract any good people, much less great people. That's what I hear when they say that. They say it all the time. Looking out the window, blaming the people. There's no good people out there. There are good people all over the place. I meet those people too. Those good people are looking for great leaders. We started out the first part of this series talking about great leaders want great team members. Great team members want great leaders. Listen to another voice we hear. And again, this one comes before the coronavirus crisis hit. But it's going to be back. They're going to be saying it again. But I heard it so much last year. Due to the low unemployment rate, there just aren't any good people left. People who don't know how to lead at a high level make so many excuses. That's just an excuse. Due to the low employment rate, there just aren't any good people left. As if the only people who can be offered a job are those without a job. See, common sense takes the rug right out from under these leaders' feet. Just like we just can't find any good people. There are good people everywhere, Mr. Leader, Miss Leader. Due to the low employment rate, there just aren't any good people left. They're good people everywhere. If the unemployment rate was 0, they're still good people. They're working somewhere else. What's stopping you from getting them to work in your organization? I'm here today to tell you it's the culture. High impact cultures with high performance teams will attract top talent from a good paying job any day, because top talent is always looking for a better job with better leaders in a better organization. And I ain't talking about the pay, I'm talking about the people. When I'm speaking from the stage and I talk about this that I'm talking to you about now, I'll ask them, I'll say, how many of you in the room have ever worked somewhere else? A lot of hands go up. I'll say, how many of you were working somewhere else, and when you came to work here, you had to turn in a 2-week notice? Hands go up. And I'll say, so this organization attracted you from another organization, which means you were not unemployed, which means the unemployment rate is nothing but an excuse when it comes to why we can't find good people. It's an excuse. These voices I'm telling you about right now, they're all excuses. They're excuses from leaders who don't want to accept responsibility for who they are as leaders and the culture that they've created. Because if you can attract people who have a job and you can attract people who don't have a job, well, that's 100% of the people. So the unemployment rate doesn't even matter. Unless you're just looking for people who don't have a job. If you're trying to attract people, if the only people you can attract to your organization are people without a job, that ought to tell you something about your organization. You can't attract people who already have a job because they don't want to come to your organization because they don't have to. And again, I'm not saying this stuff to beat up a leader. I don't even know who you are that may be listening. All I know is what I'm telling you is the truth. And if you ain't thought about this stuff, that's what this book is about, helping raise your level of awareness. Let's listen to another voice. In today's labor market, those who want to work are already working. It's kind of slightly a different twist on the last voice I shared. The last one was due to the low unemployment rate, there just aren't any good people left. So we were blaming it on unemployment, on the rate then that no good people left. But now it's saying it a little different. In today's labor market, those who want to work are already working, which is implying that, if the unemployment rate is 2 or 3%, like it was pre-coronavirus crisis, they're saying we can't find good people because those 3% who aren't working don't want to work. So now I'm basically being a leader, throwing my hands up, making the excuse that the people who want a job's already got a job. People who don't want a job, the people who are not working don't want a job, so I'm just out of luck. That is a ridiculously poor excuse and poor example of leadership right there. In today's labor market, those who want to work are already working. As if those who are working at one place can't decide to work at a different place. Because let's say it's true. Those people who already want to work are already working somewhere else. The ones who are not working, they don't want to work. Let's say that's true. What's that got to do with me attracting somebody from another organization to my organization? I'm telling you, top leaders, high impact leaders, they're pulling top talent from other organizations every day. Happens every day. And if you don't understand what this book is about, it's happening to you. It's why a lot of the best people always leave. If you're working in an organization where the best people always leave, and if you're the top leader, you got a big responsibility to change that. If you're a supervisor of 10 people and you can't keep top talent, that says a lot about who you are as a supervisor. They may be leaving, going to work in a different department with a different supervisor because of who that person is versus who you are. These are principles. They apply at every level. But this book is about transforming the culture from the top. One last voice here. When we do get good people, they won't stay. Man, I heard this one too. All these voices, I hear them all the time. When we do get good people, they won't stay. And these leaders saying that, they're like baffled. They're just baffled. They're blaming the people. When we do get good people, they won't stay. As if the problem is always with the people and never with their leaders. See, that's what low-impact leaders do. They cast the blame out the window. Good people won't stay, as if they're really not good people. Or they are good people, but for some crazy reason, they just won't stay. These leaders, apparently they don't have a mirror to realize they don't stay because they don't want to stay. They don't want to stay because maybe they're teammates. Maybe it's the leader. Maybe it's both. A lot of low-impact leaders, you know what they do? They tolerate brilliant jerks. The brilliant jerk may be very smart, may have a lot of competency, may be able to do the job very effectively, but they can't work well with others. Who's allowing the brilliant jerk to be on the team? The leader. Who pays the price? The team. And also the leader. Because if I'm a leader and I got a brilliant jerk and I just can't keep good people, they won't stay. Indirectly, it's because of the brilliant jerk potentially. But also, if I tolerate that brilliant jerk, that tells you a lot about my character. If I got that character flaw, I got a lot of other character flaws floating around too, contaminating my leadership ability with my team. The impact of culture. It's a really, really big deal. And the key point is to understand the people inside your organization are constantly providing the most influential type of advertisement about your organization and the leaders within it. It's called word of mouth advertising. How your team is feeling inside the organization will determine what they're saying outside the organization. I've talked about it. You understand it relative to product. What's the best kind of advertisement? Everybody knows. I asked this from the stage. Everybody says word of mouth advertisement. High impact leaders understand it applies also to culture. It applies to culture. High impact leaders understand this principle. They realize they've got to do all they can do to help the people inside the organization go outside the organization and talk positive about the organization. If we can't find any good people, if we're actually out looking for good people, actively searching for good people, and still can't find good people, it's because those folks out there know about our culture. They don't want to be a part of it. See, those organizations with high impact leaders at the top who create a high impact, high performance culture, they're not searching for good people. There are lines, figuratively speaking, sometimes literally speaking, lines of people queued up waiting to get in because people don't just flow out real fast. They're piled up on the outside waiting to get in because they know who this organization is, how the culture is, because of what people are saying. Good or bad, sometimes it's on the news. Sometimes people are writing articles about it. Sometimes it's all over social media. Again, good or bad. A top high impact leader understands I've got to influence the advertisement that my organization gets. When somebody's at the football game on Friday night and the friends sitting around them say, what's it like to work at XYZ? Normally the first thing they're going to say is based on the relationship they have with their direct leader. If the leader allows a brilliant jerk to be on the team, frustrating everybody, probably not going to be any good word of mouth advertisement. If the leader belittles the team, probably not going to be any good word of mouth advertisement. I could go on and on for quite a while giving you examples. Thing is, you already know them. It doesn't matter if you're a frontline entry-level worker or if you're a CEO. If you're a CEO, you worked somewhere else. If you're a business owner, you've probably even worked somewhere else. You can validate all the stuff I'm telling you with common sense. But this book will help you see it, first of all, and then it's going to help you learn how to change it and then what to do to change it. That's what we're going to talk about throughout this series. The good and great people certainly aren't out of work wishing they had a job. They're working someplace else. If you want good and great people, You got to take them from someplace else. All those voices I told you about, we can't find good people. There just aren't any left. Those who want to work are already working. Good people won't stay. You got to throw those excuses out the door. Those excuses not going to help you attract great people. Saying, who do we need to become? What needs to change? What do I need to change to start attracting and retaining top talent? I'm going to tell you what it is for you and everybody else. It's a principle. It's character. Your character determines who you are and why you do what you do and how you do it. I'm going to tell you this. You don't have to be sick to get better. If you read the introduction to this book, Blue Collar Leadership and Culture, you're going to see me give credit and acknowledge my friend, Mr. Jimmy Collins, who was Truett Cathy's, I think, third employee at Chick-fil-A. Truett Cathy was the founder of Chick-fil-A in 1967, 68, somewhere around that time frame. He hired Jimmy as a contractor to do the drafting and design of the very first Chick-fil-A store in Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta, Georgia. The very second Chick-fil-A store in a mall in Savannah, Georgia. Between the first one and the second one, Truett had actually hired Jimmy, and Jimmy was Truett's, I think, third official Chick-fil-A employee. 33 years later, almost, Jimmy retired as president and COO of Chick-fil-A. He's been a personal friend of mine since I met him personally for 2 hours at Truett's original Dwarf House Grill up in Hapeville, Georgia, near the Atlanta airport. And we had about a 2-hour conversation. And that was June 18th, 2015. So almost 5 years, Jimmy's been a personal friend. And you can go back and dig into my podcast episodes. I'm not sure, somewhere in the early hundreds, I think, 120 something or 100 in the teens, somewhere in there. There's a 3-part series where I actually interviewed Jimmy. I was over at his home a while back and had him do 3 podcast episodes with me. But he's a friend and a mentor, somebody I think highly of. And he and Truett Cathy have been doing the stuff I talk about times 1,000 for over 50 years at Chick-fil-A. And you see how they compete. They don't have to search for good people. They got great people lined up to work there at all different levels. And it's not because of what their pay, it's because of who they are, how they treat their teams, how they treat their customers. It's the character. And they do it with young people. They know a lot of them are going to leave, but they grow and develop these young people and send them out into the world as better people. That's why they can attract great people. That's why parents say they want their children to go work at Chick-fil-A, even if that's not what they're going to do forever. You may know some other good examples. That's the one I'm closest to and connected to. And Chick-fil-A was a client of ours for 3 years. Actually, I think it may have been a client while I met Jimmy, but they were a client before I ever met Jimmy. And I didn't even know Jimmy existed until 2015. So your culture is always attracting certain types of people and always repelling other types of people. Who we are is who we attract. And I'm going to say this again. I said it a minute ago. This is the whole point of why you should be interested in this book as a leader. The key point is to understand the people inside your organization are constantly providing the most influential type of advertising about your organization and the leaders within it. It's called word of mouth advertising. I said that a minute ago, word for word. I wanted to say it again. What are they saying? How they're treated and how they feel determines what they say. It's usually not based on the work they do. The work they do may be hard or it may not be hard. But most of the stress is caused by the leaders. Most of the stress in an organization is caused by the leaders in the organization. Not all of it, but most of it. How your team is feeling inside the organization will determine what they're saying outside of the organization. So I'm going to leave you with a quote here by Tony Dungy. He says, if we lose sight of people, we lose sight of the very purpose of leadership. That's what cultural transformation is about. People. Everybody. Top person on the org chart to the bottom person on the org chart. And every single person who reports to somebody on the org chart. Every team member, every associate, every employee, whatever you call all the people who work in the organization. Transforming the culture is about growing and developing those people. Whether they stay or whether they go. All right. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mack Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mack's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.